Hey, y'all. Welcome to another edition of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast right here on SI. I'm your host, Grant Sastre, the lead beat writer here for Tar Heels on SI, bringing you all the latest in regards to UNC athletics. Uh, Thank you guys so much for watching, and we got some content for you, of course. Fall camp is revving up, in pace. Although the media really hasn't gotten a chance to see much of media days. I would not see much of them practice at media days. Um, they're in practice 7 or 8 for the fall, and so things are starting to pick up. We've seen some names emerge. Not so, but the only thing is though is that because you aren't able to see the team that much, you you have an idea who's emerging. Uh, but you have to see them in person. You have to see them perform at practice. You have to see more how they line up the first team in this first team offense and defense. Who are guys who are going to be in the rotation. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So the media really hasn't been able to see much of anything. So that's the only thing that sucks. But otherwise, I mean, look, I don't care, right? I think the press conference. Bill has given us a lot of info in the press conferences. I mean, there were 6 people that spoke at the media availability on Wednesday. Of course, that was Bill Belichick, his son Stephen Belichick. It was the first time the media has heard from him since the spring. We got to hear who's the defense coordinator. We also got to hear from the offensive coordinator, Freddie Kitchens, who's in his third year on the staff. He said a lot of interesting things. Mike Prefer, who's a special teams coordinator, we heard a lot from him. And then, of course, we had 2 players, Austin Lasky and Leroy Jackson. And Leroy Jackson's a redshirt freshman. He only played 3 snaps last year, but it seems like he's one of the emerging underclassmen on this team. That's so that we have an idea, somewhat of an idea who's emerging. Of course, Leroy Jackson's emerging. We've also seen some players rise to the occasion as well. Adrian Smith, I believe. I don't think his name is Adrian Smith, but Adrian Wilson. He made an awesome catch in practice the other day. Of course, we weren't there for it, but the reason why we know about it is because UNC posted on Twitter, and it was a big time catch. He absolutely mossed the dude who was guarding him. So we have an idea who is emerging. We have an idea of quarterback battles. We have an idea who's going to be on the offensive line. But we don't really have much information in regards to who is starting where does this guy line up in the depth chart, you name it. And really, quite frankly, with you, we'll probably be able to see the practice, sometime the next 2 media availability days. Next one's next Wednesday, and then the last one's on the 20th. So we got 2 more. So maybe have more information then. But to be honest with you, we probably won't have a great idea what the depth chart looks like. Probably until the first game of the season, unfortunately. But again, I'm not complaining about it. They've given us a lot of great info on the pressures. We got an idea what what the program represents, what the message is that is going across the board, not only with the coaches but the players themselves. We got to hear from the players. They gave us great info. Of course, Max Johnson gave a great account of his recovery from his injury last year, so I can't complain about that. But enough of that. That has nothing to do with the podcast, what we're talking about. But I wanted to give you guys some updates. So, what's going on. Of course, me and Jeremiah talked a lot about the media availability day yesterday. So, so that's up on YouTube and also on the site as well. But the reason why we're doing this podcast today is, and we've already talked about the expectations for this team to some degree. We already talked about, we already talked about what we expect them to go to a bowl game. Do we expect them to go to the ACC championship? I've said that before. I think this is at best, an 8-9 win team, just because of the amount of players you had to replace. I mean, this is a brand new team. There's 70 new players on this team. And then also, you just don't, the ACC is a dog-eat-dog conference. You just don't know what's going to happen. You don't really have an idea of, okay, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win, and that's a loss. No. Any game, any of these games, Like North Carolina could beat Clemson. They really could, right? And then the next week, the next game, they'll lose against Syracuse. I think this is a dog-eat-dog conference. That's what it is. But I think we've already talked about the expectations. But I think my thing is, how soon do we expect Belichick to build this thing? And there's a lot of hype, right? We've seen a lot of stuff. We've seen that the season tickets have sold out. We've seen, of course, the amount of attention Bill Belichick is getting, because college game days can be coming to North Carolina. Not the actual college game day, but the college football countdown show will be coming to game day. Of course, Pat McAfee's going to be there. Nick Saban's going to be there. Of course, Nick Saban served under Bill Belichick when Bill was the head coach at Cleveland. And so there's going to be a lot of hype around this program, right? And when I mean attention, I'm not talking about his girlfriend. I don't care about that, right? I'm talking about strictly football. There's a lot of hype around this team. And actually, North Carolina themselves, they actually released a statement of all the things that are coming to fruition. There's a lot going to be a lot of fan activities before the game, kind of centered around, Bill Belichick. I think a lot of that has to do with Bill Belichick, and the UNC's expanding his pregame activities. They got the Chapel Thorough Concert Series. They got the Old Well Walk. Of course, that's been a thing in North Carolina, but they also got the Modelo Kickoff Club. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff for fans, and it's more than it was last year. Make sure to go check that out. That's actually on UNC's website, their athletic website, of all the things that they're doing. And I understand fans are going to be excited. And I'm going to say this right here. Like, I think, is it okay to expect the Tar Heels to go to the ACC championship? Yeah. I mean, the ACC is a topsy-turvy conference. I mean, outside of Clemson, there really hasn't been any dominant teams. There hasn't been any consistent teams in the ACC. Yeah, sure, Miami's come on as of late, but even Miami's dealt with some consistency issues. Florida State, it looked from a 2-year span in 2022 and 2023 that this team, the Florida State was back, and then last year they go 2-10, which no one expected them to go 2-10. Not a single soul expected them to go 2-10. Like, seriously, name one team that went 13-0 in the regular season, go 2-10 the following season. Like, that's what I mean by consistency. There's not enough consistent teams in the ACC outside of Clemson. So, I understand fans expect, UNC to make the ACC championship, but I just also feel like that's unreasonable. Look, like I said, they have 70 new players on this team, right? Like, that's a lot of players. You're overhauling the offense. You're replacing a solid bit of your offensive production from last year, including a guy who had over 1,600 yards of rushing, and then on top of that had 300 more yards of receiving. I'm talking about Amarion Hampton. So you're replacing a lot of production in the receiving corps, and of course, one of the greatest running backs in UNC history. And then also you're replacing quite a bit of players on the defensive side of the ball. The only position group where you have guys coming back in terms of starters is the defensive backfield with Will Hardy, Caleb Koss, and Marcus Allen. But outside of that, there's a lot of new faces across this defense. And I know Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. Man's won 8 Super Bowls, 2 as an assistant, 6 as a head coach. But I also feel like it's unfair to put those expectations of, we're going to the ACC championship or, the playoff or whatever. And I'm pretty sure North Carolina fans are pretty realistic about this team. I'm almost. I mean, it's not like I was just at LSU. And of course, LSU fans are crazy. I mean, look, LSU has a lot of talent this year, and LSU, in their own right, has won a lot of national championships in the last 20 years. So I can understand why the fans expect them to win the national championship. But there's sometimes where fans, you got those psycho fans that you would think that their team's the greatest in the world and nothing should happen to them. Nothing bad should happen to them. And they have these unrealistic expectations. I don't think that's here in Chapel Hill. I think the fans are fairly reasonable, but there could be a few. But I really think that this team is that, I think it's going to take a little while. And the players are saying all the right things. It's almost, they're basically becoming Belichick, right? Where there's a specific culture. There's a cultural mindset happening in this program. You got what's it called? I mean, there's a lot of, I forgot what it was, TSD, and that's basically, it was tough, but it's tough in discipline. I actually had it on my screen just a while ago. I don't know what happened to it, but this is a team that is becoming very disciplined. They understand the expectations. They understand that you have to be accountable, self-accountability. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in this program. You kind of seen it play in full, but just because you're seeing the players and the coaches have one common goal and one common motto that's going across the board with players, coaches, you name it, that doesn't mean that team's ready for a championship run. I think it might take a little while. I think it was going to take a year or two before Belichick can make this program like a consistent ACC title contender. I just don't think they're ready yet, right? And remember, Bill Belichick, when he took over the Patriots, it did not start off smoothly. It just didn't. Remember, in Bill Belichick's first year with New England, they were 5-11, and then the next year, of course, Drew Bledsoe gets hurt against the Jets, and Tom Brady comes in, and then of course we all know what happened after that. Smart, tough, discipline. That's what it was. That's what the motto is: smart, tough, discipline. STD. So they all follow that motto, but that doesn't mean it's going to be you're going to have immediate success. Like I said, they went. Bill Belichick went 5-11 at New England, and of course next year they won the Super Bowl. It's going to take, and I'm not saying North Carolina's going to win the national championship in Bill Belichick's second year, but my thing is that it's a transition year. You're going from Mac Brown to Bill Belichick. Those are two different coaches in terms of styles. I mean, Mac Brown is more of an offensive coach, right? And on top of that, he has a different personality than Bill Belichick. Well, Bill Belichick, yeah, I mean, he's a laid back guy, but Bill Belichick is also a guy who's pretty, I want to say strict, but he's pretty straightforward. Even though he's pretty chilled out guy. He's a pretty chilled out guy, but he's a very straightforward guy. And I think, like I said, it's just going to take a little while. I don't think you should have too many high expectations on this team just because they have Bill Belichick. I think what Bill Belichick is building, I think I'm like what I'm seeing. I really, really do. But I don't think it's fair for anybody. And I'm not saying anybody is, and really I haven't seen it. But I think that if there's anybody thinking, oh, yeah, we should be in the ACC championship this year, I think that's unrealistic. I think what Bill Belichick is building is special. But you gotta be patient, right? You have to be patient. Let the thing build itself out. And look, I don't know how long Bill Belichick is going to be in North Carolina because we don't know if he wants to go back to the NFL. He might, but who knows? But what we do know is Bill Belichick has a plan in place. It's a very clear plan. If you read any of our articles on the site, or you hear him speak, or any of videos, or even it doesn't even have to be our site, you could anywhere. It's very clear that he has a plan in place. And I think you just gotta have to let the process play itself out. And I don't know what's gonna happen this season. I don't know if they're gonna go 8-4, 9-3, or even make the playoffs. I don't know if they're gonna make a bowl game. I think there's a lot of unknown. As much as I like about the coaching staff and the team, there's still a lot of unknowns in this team because you're replacing a solid bit of your offensive and defensive production from last year. And besides your defensive backs, and all the other positions on the field, most of those guys are transfers, right? In offense, at least in offense, you got two quarterbacks who are both experienced. You have an offensive line that can go 8-9 deep. By the way, I'm really excited for the offensive line, but the receivers and the running backs, you've lost a whole lot of production. There's not a whole lot of production coming back in those two positions. And then defense, I think the defense will be fine. I think the defense will improve under Steve Belichick. I mean, look what happened to Washington, right? I think this will be a process. It's not going to be a quick fix. I think North Carolina can make a bowl game, but I also don't think that they're going to make this SEC championship right off the bat. It's going to take time, but you're seeing a culture being put in place, and I think that matters when you're going through a transition period. When you're going from Mac Brown to a guy like Bill Belichick, and it doesn't even have to be those two names. It can be anybody. It's always tough to go through a transition period. But anyway, with that being said, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Once again, I'm your host, Grant Sasher. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Tar Heels on SI. Same thing with Facebook, Tar Heels on SI. And also make sure to follow me on Twitter. My last name and first name. Also, you can also follow my Facebook page as well. That got up and running. So I'm pretty excited about that. I won't say excited about that. It's my first time making a professional page on Facebook. I mean, I would say it's not exciting. It's like kind of neat and unique because I've never done that before. But that's what happens when you work for one of the biggest sports media companies in the world. But also, I want to mention all of the content is free. YouTube, on SI, everything's for free. Compared to some of our competitors, it's free. So make sure to go check it out. Make sure to check out my work along with Jeremiah Ortachos. We're going to have a lot of content for you guys leading up to the season. So make sure to stay tuned about that. But anyway, you guys have a good day. And we'll be back here tomorrow.